Grady College is a great University of Georgia tradition. Founded in 1915 by the legendary Stedman Vincent Sanford, namesake of Sanford Stadium, it was one of the first schools of journalism in the nation, and today ranks among the best colleges of journalism and mass communications in the world. The college was named in 1921 for Henry W. Grady, editor of the Atlanta Constitution and chief publicist for a reconstructed New South. Grady College is a trust held by 58 full-time members of its faculty and 32 staff professionals. It is a trust also held by more than 21,000 alumni who formed the Greater Grady Society, a society that will welcome a new class today. I'd like to ask the faculty, staff, and any alumni who are present to please take a moment to stand so that we can recognize your many contributions to this wonderful day. The Grady College always stands in service of democracy's next generation, represented by the graduating seniors and postgraduates we honor today. As we call the roll of honor later in this ceremony, each name will represent a lifetime of preparation and a new universe of possibilities to be realized. Each name also represents the families who have brought them thus far, the parents and the grandparents, the brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts. If you are a family member, a friend, a supporter, a confidant of one of our graduates today, would you please rise and accept our congratulations? I probably should have started by introducing myself. My name is Charles Davis. I am the Dean of Henry W. Grady College. I've been in the job since July, and that's probably why I forgot to introduce myself, because I'm new. This year, my first as Dean, has been full of transition and implementation and planning. We've begun a strategic planning exercise to prepare us for our centennial in 2015. It's right around the corner. We're always thinking ahead around here. Among other highlights of the year at Grady College, we launched a fundraising campaign to endow the Coach Dan McGill Professorship in Sports Communication to honor Grady grad and longtime UGA Sports Information Director and tennis coach Dan McGill. We began a college-wide effort under the banner of Grady's Engaged to re-engage and connect with a greater number of our alums and friends than ever before. We held our first college-wide student competition to design the logo for Grady's Engaged, and we are set to announce our next student competition in the winter. 5 new faculty members joined our ranks this fall, deepening an already stellar cast. We continue to develop innovative partnerships to benefit our students, like our new learning alliance with Turner Entertainment Network, supported by a $150,000 grant that is being renewed this year, and we have several more in the works. And in May, we'll celebrate the 73rd anniversary of the Peabody Awards. I am deeply honored to be dean of a college with an abundance of faculty members who make a difference in not only the lives of our students, but who also make an impact on the world as a whole through their research and public outreach. In the past few months, our faculty members have reached incredible heights. Dr. Carolina Acosta-Alzura, a faculty member in our Ad PR department, is one of 3 national finalists for the Scripps Howard Foundation Journalism and Mass Communication Teacher of the Year Award, presented by the Association for Education in Journalism and Mass Communication. The winner of this distinguished award will be announced in March. Valerie Boyd, Professor of Journalism and our Charlene Hunter Galt Distinguished Writer in Residence, received the distinguished honor in October of being named the curator and editor of Alice Walker's memoir, which will be published in 2017 by Simon & Schuster's imprint, 37 Inc. Valerie has exclusive access to Alice Walker's papers and journals, and this is a tremendous honor for her and for the college. Dr. Nate Cohn, Associate Director of our Peabody Awards and Professor of Telecommunications, won a Regional Emmy Award this fall from the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Mid-America chapter. The award was for a documentary he produced for the Roger Ebert Film Festival, a 5-day festival which he also directs. Dr. Glenn Nowak joined us earlier this year from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to direct our Center for Health and Risk Communication. In late October, Glenn accepted a consulting position to lead the communication efforts of the Task Force for Global Health, which is dedicated to the worldwide eradication of polio. This task force, supported in part by UNICEF and the World Health Organization, will have a global impact on improving the effectiveness of vaccinations for polio. And Dr. Tom Reichert, who heads our ad PR department, has been named the inaugural UGA Athletic Association Professor in Advertising Information, as well as an SEC Administrative Fellow, a year-long program focused on identifying and engaging academic leaders. These are just a few of our faculty highlights. I could go on and on. It's not just the faculty members who exemplify leadership and excellence at Grady College, but our students as well. I was a master's student at Grady myself many years ago, and so when people ask me, as they often do upon my homecoming, what's the biggest difference around here, I always reply, it's the students. It's true, the student body at Grady and at the University of Georgia has never been smarter and more accomplished. And have they ever been busy? They have done campaigns for charities and corporations, published magazines, broadcast news source, displayed new media applications at last week's New Media Institute Slam, written for the Red and Black, sold sponsorships for WUGA TV, presented research papers, traveled the world, and on and on. A few examples. Michael Crosby, Jamie Gottlieb, Will Looney, and Andrea Morris formed an interdisciplinary group from our New Media Institute. As their capstone project for the semester, this team developed a responsive web app called Go Grady. It brings together alumni, students, and friends on a social platform that emphasizes connection. I hope our new graduates will download it and be engaged participants. Students in our PRSSA chapter, the largest in the world, by the way, have had an outstanding year as well. Cody Nicholson won the 2013 Otshel Champions for PRSSA Outstanding Internship Award in October. The award honors a student who has achieved great success in a public relations internship, and Cody's award recognized his internship with alumnus Trip Cagle at the Southern Company. Two of our Grady students, Jim Thompson, a public relations major, and Taryn Winston, who's majoring in public affairs journalism, were recently named to the Crane Leadership Scholar Program. Scholars in this program must be enrolled in the Honors College with a minimum cumulative GPA of 3.7 and have demonstrated leadership with civic or community organizations. Lindsay Cook, a senior journalism major, was one of 6 nationwide AP Google Scholars, for which she won a $20,000 scholarship to develop a project called Journo Chicks, designed to empower and inspire female journalism students to cross into computer science. Meredith Dean, a senior majoring in digital and broadcast journalism, is a member of the university's Arts Society and was named one of Grady's McGill Fellows, and this past summer completed a CNN Journalism Fellowship. And Grady graduate students continue to be highly productive over the last year, authoring over 40 conference papers, 10 refereed articles, and 4 students were selected by the university for Outstanding Graduate Student Teaching Awards. Our alumni, too, continue to make us proud. A few highlights from our alumni ranks. Michael Giruso, ABJ 92, was recently named Global Sports Editor of the Associated Press. 3 grads have been named to the UGA Alumni Association's 40 Under 40 list, recognizing alumni achievement, and 9 were named to the Bulldog 100 list, highlighting the fastest growing Bulldog-owned or run businesses. And 2 Grady grads, including Grady Society Alumni Board Chair Eric Neesmith, who's with us today, were named to Georgia Trend Magazine's 40 Under 40. At the conclusion of today's program, Eric will officially welcome our newest members into the Grady Society of Alumni. Heck, we even had Carly Mathis, ABJ 13, in the top 10 of the Miss America pageant. Now I'm extremely honored to introduce our keynote speaker, a man who personifies that Grady spirit, that intangible mix of leadership, drive, and personality. We often say that Grady graduates the talent that leads the world's great brands. Nowhere is that proven more than in the example of our convocation speaker today. Scott Williamson represents the ultimate alumni leader. As Vice President for Public Affairs and Communications at Coca-Cola North America, he directs public affairs and PR for all Coke brands and sports and entertainment holdings. That's a big job with global implications, but on any given day, he might email that he's on his way out to speak to a sports communication class or to meet with students whose development he cares so much about. Scott helped launch Coke's First Generation Scholarships Initiative at UGA, and he advises that wonderful program. He created the Coca-Cola Grady Public Affairs Internship Program, the college's most competitive, a real leadership track that has prepared and mentored and often hired Grady students since 2001. Scott served on the Grady Society Alumni Board and now serves on the Grady Board of Trust. And Scott manages Coca-Cola support for the Peabody Awards, Grady's most luminous brand, continuing a tradition begun by Grady grads at Coke since the days of Carlton Curtis and Earl Leonard. We asked for anecdotes about Scott to introduce him to you today, but what we found was that everybody said anecdotes were tough for Scott because Scott always puts other people and important causes forward and consummately stands behind, a real art, as you know. On his first day of grad school, we hear that when he asked why he was enrolled at Grady, Scott said his wife told him to. Thank you, Debbie, who's also with us today, for that sage advice. And we're told that it was Scott's late mother who gave him that thoughtful, humble confidence that Scott inspires in our students, a real grace of leadership and love for Grady and Georgia and one's profession. So a thank you to your mom's memory also, and to you, Scott, for being with us today on the happiest day in the Grady calendar. Plus a thank you to Coke for being one of Grady's oldest and most loyal learning partners. Scott?
Wow, when I hear things like that, I wish my mom was here because she's the only one who would believe all that. But it is a great pleasure for me to be here. Dean Davis, members of the Grady faculty, distinguished guests, family, friends, and mostly you students. Thank you for allowing me to share in your day. My wife is here with me today, and I'm very pleased about that as well because, as Dean Davis said, she was the one who actually worked and paid the bills so that I could achieve my dream of graduating from the University of Georgia. Graduates, congratulations, y'all. I mean, seriously, 4 or 5 or 6 years? But you did it. You're here. You're this close. People doubted you. I mean, you may have doubted yourself. But you're here. You are this close to graduating from the best college of journalism and mass communications in America and one of the finest universities in the land. I mean, give yourselves a hand. I mean, seriously, can you believe it? I mean, does it feel a little weird? I hope that it does, because that's the kind of achievement that you're on the precipice of having done. I want to talk to you a little bit today about something I call embracing now. And it has a lot to do with what you do when you leave here, but I don't want you to miss the opportunity to embrace now, today, tomorrow, as you go about doing things with your family and friends. When you look at your classmates and your mom and your dad and your families over the course of the next couple of days and you meet them eye to eye, I want that to linger. I want you to lock a little longer than you would otherwise. When you go walk by the arch to get your picture taken, stare at it a little bit. When you go downtown, just kind of soak it in. The smells, the sounds, what it looks like. You won't soon feel the sense of satisfaction that you have today and tomorrow. So relish it. Embracing now. This is your time. It may not be the best time, but it is your time. Unfortunately, you can't step outside, jump in a DeLorean with a flux capacitor, and have it take you to a different time of your choosing. all the students are looking at each other and saying, what's a DeLorean? What's a flex capacitor? And all the parents, like, ask mom and dad or whoever you're with, they'll be able to tell you. The point I want to make is this is your time, so grab it. You're about to leave this warm, fuzzy cocoon of support and positive reinforcement for a world that is still run by my generation and the generation before mine. And we are not like you. We're crusty old fogies, and we come from a different time, back when dinosaurs ruled the earth and only the winning team got a trophy. When there were no medals for just showing up, winning was the only thing that was rewarding, and losing was met with bitterness and scorn. Being on the losing end every once in a while kind of hardened us, and it gave us an edge. I'm not saying that my generation is better for it. In many ways, you are better off having grown up in an environment that favors collaboration over confrontation, supportive rather than competitive relationships, valuing the good of the team over the individual, and positive reinforcement at home and at school. But the business world that you're going to enter, whether you're an ad major or a PR major or a journalism major or magazines or social media, whatever it is that you're going to go do, they're not quite like that yet. It's more like this. You're about to graduate with an A, B, J, those three letters, or maybe an MA, or perhaps even a PhD. And folks like me are out there, and they're saying, all right, Miss ABJ, all right, Mr. ABJ, come on out. We will teach you the rest of the alphabet. My message to you is that this is nothing to fear. It is something to be embraced. You are smarter at 22 than I am right now. But you're not as experienced or wise, so what can you do? You can embrace the opportunity and you can work your tail off. I mean, work like you've never worked before. Commit yourself to being the person in your organization, whatever it is, that will not be outworked. Embrace that moment. Embrace now. Listen, here's a little secret. Nobody expects very much of you right now. For the first 3 months, or even maybe the first year of your job. So take advantage of that. Your margin for error is only going to get narrower as you progress in your career. So dive in. Fail while you're moving forward, soak it all up, and learn everything you can from those old fogies like me who are going to be working all around you. When Dean Davis asked me to speak with you, I confess I really had no idea what I was going to say. So I did what I always do when I'm faced with a challenge of this type. I went to visit my mentor. His name is Earl Leonard. He is 35 years retired Senior Vice President of Global Public Affairs and Communications for Coca-Cola. At the apex of his career, he managed all public affairs for the company in 206 countries. So I went to see him, and I was pouring through all of the old speeches that he had given, because he had given innumerable ones, and I was looking for something, frankly, that I could just steal. And I realized that I'm not him. I have neither his gift for oratory or his incredible life experience. So I looked at him somewhat exasperated, and I said, and by the way, he's a Grady grad and a Georgia Law grad. I said, Mr. Leonard, what am I going to tell these folks and their families? What possible counsel can I give them that'll help them along their way? And he reminded me that people like hearing stories. So he said, tell them your story, the one about why I hired you. And I said, you mean because of my keen intellect and incredible writing skills and my creativity and just sort of the general awesomeness that sort of surrounds me like an aura? And he said, no. He said, the real one. So here's the story of how I got my job at Coke. I was a graduate student and an intern at Coca-Cola from the Grady College. And I had the great privilege of traveling with Mr. Leonard across the country and around the world, really, for the first few years after I started working there. But this one particular trip, I was at the airport with him, and he stopped to get his shoes shined. And he asked me if I wanted to get my shoes shined, and I said, no, sir, my shoes are fine. And he must have assumed that that was because I couldn't pay for it. So he said, it's okay, I'll pay for it, just get your shoe shined. And I said, no, thank you, Mr. Leonard, I really, my shoes are fine. And he says, why don't you want to get your shoe shined? And I said, because as a little boy, my father taught me how to shine my own shoes, and I really haven't found anybody who does it as good as me. We got to the hotel in Washington, D.C., and I am just enamored with the idea that for the first time, I'm going to be staying in a place where the door to my room doesn't open into a parking lot, I sheepishly sort of asked the lady behind the counter if there's an ironing board and an iron somewhere in the building. And she said, young man, every room has its own ironing board and its own iron. And he looked at me and said, well, why on earth do you need an ironing board and an iron? And I said, Mr. Leonard, I'm looking at the schedule, and we were about to go to a dinner at the State Department, which was true. And I want to make sure that my shirt's pressed. Years later, at an event at Coca-Cola, that was on a panel where there were a bunch of University of Georgia graduates all working at Coca-Cola, and Mr. Leonard had filled the auditorium with University of Georgia students, and it was a Q&A portion of that event. The question came up about how we got our jobs. And I launched into this lengthy explanation of the importance of writing well and being objective-oriented and understanding the financials of the company and how our business works. And he interrupted me in front of all those people. And he said, wait a minute, that's not why I hired you. I hired you because you shined your own shoes and you ironed your own shirt. I was speechless. But over the years, the more I've pondered that moment, the prouder I've become of it. To him, those two things mattered. So what's the takeaway for you? I think it's this: pay attention to the little things because they matter. No job is too small to give your best effort. Sweat the details. Those entry-level jobs are all about the little things. Do them well. They are the critical things. They are the must-dos. They are the table stakes, because you never know who's watching, and you never know what's important to them. Now, to balance all that stuff about working as hard as you possibly can, let's talk a little bit about remembering what's important. I have this game that I play. Whenever I find that my professional life is encroaching too much on my personal life, I call it the house or office is on fire question. And I encourage you to do it. I literally do this. I say, okay, the house is on fire, and I know that my family is safe. I can grab one thing, or maybe two. What do I grab? The office is on fire. All of my colleagues are safe. I have maybe a second to grab something. What is the thing I'm going to take? And that thing, or things, gives me insight into what is ultimately important to me and allows me to kind of recenter myself. And that thing has changed over the course of time. It's not always the same. So, if I'm at home, the house is on fire, I know my family is safe, I grab my Bible. The one my mom and dad gave me when I was a young man. It's crammed with church bulletins. It's got sort of, sermon notes written all around the borders. There are verses that are highlighted that have compelled me or confused me or convicted me or comforted me. I grab that. There's this hard drive on our desk next to our computer that has virtually every picture and video that my wife and I have ever taken of our two children, Tyler and Hannah. I would grab that. That speaks to me as to what's important. If I'm at work, there's really only one thing I grab, and it's this big, thick manila folder. And if you spend any time with me in the office, you know it, you see me draw on it, and you know where it is in my office. And it does not contain the secret formula to Coca-Cola. What it does contain is pictures, snippets of paper with quotes on them, My very first press release that has my name and phone number in the contact area was written in 1993. Was anybody even born in 1993? I'm just curious. Maybe. It's got stacks of thank you notes from students and former interns and colleagues and folks that I've just spent time with over the course of 21 years at Coke. Let me tell you what's not in it. There's not a single performance appraisal in there. There's not a single letter from HR about a raise or a promotion or a new title. Only memories of good times with friends and colleagues and students and interns, inspiring words, moments of pride, some moments of failure. A big folder full of memory and experience and wisdom, and I would grab that for sure. So, men and women of Grady, you are going to be awesome at whatever you choose to do. I'd wish you luck, but I don't think you're going to need it. You are smart. You are as ready as the best college of journalism and mass communications in America can make you. What you need now is the experience and the wisdom that comes with it. What I do wish for you is success, however you define it, and achieved through hard work. That may mean material and financial reward, or it may not. Remember that sometimes the reward for a job well done is simply to have done it. So embrace now. Dive in. I also wish for you a career and a life that leaves you with a fat manila folder full of great pictures and thank you cards from folks you've helped along the way. Dozens of scraps of paper with a great quote or a memory or a thought scrawled on each one. The kind of collection that reflects a person who always remembered what was important. If you do all this, if you embrace now and dive in and you remember what's important and you shine your own shoes, you'll be just fine. Grady graduates, thank you again for allowing Debbie and me to share this important day with you and your families, and God bless you.
Scott, thank you. I feel refocused. I appreciate that very much. It's now my pleasure to introduce one of our amazing Grady students, distinguished senior orator Ashley Reeves. Ashley is a mass media arts major, minoring in history and music. And like her peers, Ashley has been very busy. She participated in the Cannes Film Festival Study Abroad program. She served as a Peabody student judge and as a screener for the Hamptons International Film Festival. Ashley has interned for Zeitgeist Films and Virgil Films in New York City, at the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival, and is currently interning for Turner Broadcasting. All this and more while maintaining academic excellence at the highest level. Yes, our students are accomplished and they are busy. Ladies and gentlemen, Ashley Reeves.
First of all, I would like to acknowledge that there was a tie for highest GPA, but my co-senior orator could not be here today. If you see him, tell him congratulations and tell him that I hate him for making me do this alone. Okay. I'd like all of you to just humor me for a second and close your eyes. I can see you. Close your eyes. Try and remember your very first day of college classes. Can you remember what your first class was? Can you still name any of your professors from that first day? Your eyes better still be closed. Now picture what you wore. Picture who your friends were, where your dorm was. Try and recreate in your mind everything from that first day of college. Now open your eyes. That was fun, wasn't it? Don't you wish that other guy was here? Let me make one thing very clear. I have no wisdom to give you. This isn't going to be that kind of speech. But I can tell you exactly what I did on my first day of college, and I can assure you it was a disaster. I had an 8 a.m. class in the music building, and it was all the way over on East Campus. I'm pretty sure I wore Sophie shorts and committed at least one other fashion offense. But appearances aside, I made it out the door on time and was ready to start my college career. But somehow, I managed to get on the wrong bus, despite being that very obvious freshman who carries around a bus map, fully folded out as if I were trying to navigate the streets of New York. I got on the wrong bus, hopped off, and thought, no problem, I can still get to class on time if I just get on a bus going the opposite direction. Wrong, so wrong. My bus map was no good to me if I only planned on using my bus intuition. So I hopped on a second bus, I think it was east-west, that ironically took me to North Campus, completely the opposite direction of where I needed to go. And at 8:30, half an hour after class started and 20 minutes before it ended, I finally made it to my first college class. I hope to God that none of you made the same mistakes that I did on that first day of classes, but I'm sure there are some fantastic stories out there about first days far worse than mine. Gracefully or not, we all made it through the first day, the first year, the second, third, fourth, maybe fifth, and now we find ourselves here, graduating from the Grady College. Sitting before me is a group of very different people with very different majors. We all took different routes to get here. Some of us worked in front of the camera, some of us behind it. Some of us wrote copy, some of us wrote articles, some of us crafted campaigns, and some of us would be very upset if I didn't respect the comedy rule of 3. But despite our differences, we all have one thing in common. One way or another, we all tell stories. Now, almost anyone can recall an event. Even caveman kept records. But as the late Alan Gurganus observed, stories only happen to people who can tell them. A memory is just a memory, a fact. But there is an art to turning memories into stories. I'd be willing to bet that when I asked you to recreate your first day of college, you didn't just haphazardly compile the events of the day. I bet every one of you could turn to the person sitting next to you and tell an enthralling story about your first day of college. During your time in Grady, you've learned many things, but above all, you've perfected the art of telling a story. It's no secret that technology has changed the landscape of all of our fields, but the one thing my professors have always been sure to instill is that there will always be a place in the world for storytellers. Because despite how rapidly the world is changing or how dark it may seem at times, a world without storytellers wouldn't be a place that I'd want to live. I'd like to take this time, on behalf of all the graduates, to thank the people who continue to pass down the art of storytelling. Our professors are Grady's most valuable asset, and I personally don't know where I'd be without the help of Biddle, Jen Smith, Dr. Herndon, and Dr. Cohn, who always insisted that everyone has a story to tell. I know you all have teachers and mentors who have helped you as much as these 4 have helped me, so let's please give a big hand to all the Grady faculty and staff who helped us make it to graduation. I'd also like us to take a moment to thank our parents, reluctant siblings, and other family members, the ultimate story source material. We share our success with you today. I have no wisdom. I warned you of that at the beginning. I don't know anything that you don't know. All I can give you is a story. And all I can hope for the rest of you is that you go out into the world and tell your own stories. Whether it's through a campaign, a film, a hard-hitting investigative journalism piece, a long-form feature, or a YouTube video, go out and tell your story. Just don't get on the wrong bus. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2013.
Well, graduates, it's about that time. It's my honor to call to the stage Jeff Springston, Professor of Public Relations and Associate Dean for Research and Graduate Studies. and together we will begin the conferral of degrees.
Welcome, everybody, and I must say that I'm particularly pleased with selection of the keynote speaker in this graduation because he is the embodiment of those of you that are about to walk across the stage. I predict that some, if not all of you, will be sitting up here one of these days, hopefully in the not too far distant future. But with that, I would like to call forth those candidates for Doctor of Philosophy and Master of Arts. Would you please come forward? I am pleased to present Dr. Nicola Amanda Corbett. Her dissertation title was The Publicness of the Private Articulations of Colorism in Popular Media, 1982 to 2012. Congratulations, Dr. Corbett. I am pleased to pronounce Corey Cantrell Andrews for Master of Arts. Jacqueline Christine Sidero, Master of Arts. Alyssa Jo Sellers, Master of Arts. It's my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Tom Reichert, Department Head for Advertising and Public Relations.
Thank you, Jeff. Parents, family, and staff, Scott and Debbie, and everyone else, welcome from the Department of Advertising and Public Relations. Like students in all of Grady programs, we too feel our students are very exceptional. They win national competitions, and in their classes, they work on real-life challenges for brands such as Coca-Cola, for Turner Entertainment, and Build-A-Bear, thanks to the generous support of our alumni. And they also take what they learn and apply it through student-run advertising and public relations agencies for local businesses and nonprofits to make a difference. These students have received a top-shelf education from a world-class faculty, and you don't have to take my word for it. Recently, Brad McAfee, who is the new president North America for Porter Novelli, a leading public relations agency, was just on campus, and he said, you know, Tom, your students rise to the top when interviewing and get promoted faster. And it reminds me of an email that I received just this weekend from the head recruiter at Sapient Nitro, who told me that 3 of our December grads were just hired among a stiff competition and a swarm of Georgia Tech grads. So I'm really proud of them. Yeah, absolutely. So let me conclude by saying that we've endeavored to make a difference in the lives of these graduates. I know that they've made a difference in all of ours. They keep us young. We're going to miss their energy, their smiles, their spirit, and their spunk. So thank you for entrusting them with us. 2 of our outstanding teachers will be reading names this morning. Dr. Karen King, an award-winning teacher, and our Kennedy New Media professor will read the names of our advertising graduates, and she'll be followed by Dr. Betty Jones, a perennial teaching award winner, who will read the names of our public relations graduates.
I'm pleased to present to you the candidates for a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism with an advertising major. With a new media certificate, Christopher Mark Brandis. Graduating cum laude, Christine Yijin Bayan. Graduating cum laude, Kelsey Ann Crawford. Graduating summa cum laude, Lindsay Jane Davis. Mallory Gilliam. Graduating cum laude, Margaret Cree Hancock. Ashley Marie Jacobs. Brian Henderson Jungles. Graduating magna cum laude, Alexandra Lee Keller. Grady Ambassador, Thomas Edward McConnell. Elizabeth Austin McDonald. Amanda Young Northcutt. Graduating magna cum laude, Rachel Page. Michelle Penner Samuel. Graduating cum laude, Alexander Michael Sidoti. Graduating cum laude, Natalie Hannah White. That concludes our candidates with an advertising major. How about a round of applause for our ad majors? Please welcome Public Relations Professor and Advisor of our PRSSA chapter, Dr. Betty Jones, to the podium.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you the graduates in public relations. Damius Eugene Barber. Graduating summa cum laude, Allie Peyton Chapman. Graduating summa cum laude, Jordan Marie Crofton. Graduating cum laude, Jessica Ann Joris. Graduating summa cum laude, Megan Talo Cantor. Rachel Eileen Martz. Graduating cum laude, Elizabeth Crystal Renee. Graduating magna cum laude, Jordan Alexander Thomas. Amanda Nicole Van Tassel. Graduating magna cum laude, Aisha Sharif Yaqub. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Janice Hume, Chair of Journalism.
Thank you, Betty, and good morning. On behalf of the faculty of the Department of Journalism, I would like to offer my heartfelt congratulations not only to the students, but to everyone here who's encouraged them along the way. It's a great day. The first journalism class was taught at the University of Georgia 100 years ago this semester. It is my strong belief that the graduates today are as well prepared to enter the field of journalism and mass communication as any in the last century. While at Grady, they have worked with a dedicated and award-winning faculty. I'll give you just one example. This year, Dr. Lee Becker received the Deutschman Award for Research from the Association for Education in Journalism and Mass Communication. It's one of the top awards in our field, and it's not given every year. It's for a body of work that adds to our understanding of the role of media in society. At the awards ceremony, Dr. Becker was celebrated not only for his passion, but for his commitment to democracy. Here at Grady, the combination of dedicated faculty and great students is electric. Our journalism majors have learned to report, write, edit, and produce stories that matter for a variety of platforms and audiences. They have excelled in public affairs journalism, magazines, news management, visual communication, and our exciting new sports media program. They will join Grady alumni who cover the world and lead at places like community newspapers, NBC Universal, ESPN, Barron's, Financial Times, Hearst Magazine, CNN, and the New York Times. Today's graduates have worked hard to get ready to join these ranks. They will do so with courage and with the strong ethical traditions that have been the hallmark of journalism at Grady for 100 years. We are so proud of them. Now, to present our graduates, I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Welsh Suggs, an associate professor of journalism who is an integral part of our new sports media program. Dr. Suggs.
It is my honor to recognize the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Journalism, majoring in journalism. Graduating with highest honors, magna cum laude, Julia Claire Carpenter. Aldeanne Arlia Chandler. Graduating with a new media certificate, Mark Daniel Ellers. Graduating cum laude, Catherine Davis Hillmeyer. Morgan Ellen Johnson. Daniel Jacob Kramer. Alexandra Catherine Kukler. Mackenzie Paige Lavelle. Ana Isabel Lopez. Graduating cum laude, Kimberly April Lucian. Graduating cum laude, Clinton Chase Martin. Caroline Virginia Maters. Corey Wayne Patterson. Graduating summa cum laude, Sarah Patricia Porch. Graduating cum laude, Michael John Rabelais. Catherine DeWare Sykes. Sean McKenzie Ward. Graduating magna cum laude, Carolyn Ann Williams. Graduating the new media certificate, Alec Pierce Woolsey. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Ann Holofield, chair of our Digital and Broadcast News Department.
Thank you, Welch. As Dean Davis said earlier, today is the happiest day in the Grady College calendar, but for those of us on the faculty and staff, it's also always a very bittersweet day, because as proud as we are of you and as excited as we are for you, we are really going to miss you. It's been a pleasure spending the last few years with you. The Department of Telecommunications has two programs, Digital and Broadcast Journalism and Mass Media Arts. As Ashley said, regardless of what program our students are leaving today, the mission for both of them has been the same: to help you become the cultural leaders and storytellers of the 21st century, and even more importantly, to help you move from here to go out and support democracy and society by reflecting and shaping the world we live in through the very important stories that you tell. You are incredibly well prepared to do that because you have learned not only how to research and write stories, talk with people, gather information, but also to understand your audience and the needs of your audience and be able to communicate effectively with them through visual and oral stories, through social media, through interactive media, and across platforms that we don't even know will be coming to us yet. That the world needs these skills is increasingly apparent. We are finding now that these days our graduates are being called back to major markets in media, such as Atlanta, and to the networks in New York, and to the Hollywood studios in Los Angeles, only 2, 3, and 4 years after they walked across the stage before you. Indeed, some of you are going to be leaving here today to go to some of the most powerful media companies in the world: Turner, CNN, Fox, here and around the country and around the world, and we congratulate you on that. We thank you so much for sharing part of your journey with us, and we're so excited to see where you go. Promise us that you'll stay in touch and that you'll let us know how you're doing and let us help you as you continue going forward. On behalf of my colleagues in the Department of Telecommunications, we congratulate you and celebrate you. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague, Professor Chris Shumway of the Digital and Broadcast Journalism Program. And he'll be reading the names of our DBJ graduates, followed by Professor Jim Biddle, who will read the names of our Mass Media Arts graduates.
Thanks, Dr. Hollyfield. This is always so much fun. I'm thrilled, delighted. It's a great pleasure, a great honor to present to you the candidates for degree in the Digital Broadcast Journalism major. Let's do this. Chelsea Elizabeth Anderson. Jordan Audrey Bell. Alexandra Kareen Boswell. Julie Marie Calhoun. James Hollis Cobb. Sophia Danner Okoti. Graduating cum laude, Jordan Taylor DeArmond. Brittany Luann Denny. Laura Chase Dunlop. Elizabeth Mary Egan. Graduating cum laude with honors, Mary Grace Fisher. Graduating cum laude, Avery Elizabeth Green. Kendall Lane Herndon. Mary Rachel Mach Kane. Paul Thomas Meharry Jr. Graduating cum laude, A. Jeffrey McNair. Julianne Quach. Antolina Nicole Ramirez. That concludes the presentation of candidates for the degree with the major in digital and broadcast journalism. Thanks, everybody.
Delicate flower that I am, I hope you can hear me. It is an absolute honor for me to present to you the candidates for Bachelor of Arts Journalism in Mass Media Arts, My Kids in the Basement. I begin with our distinguished senior orator, graduating summa cum laude, Ashley Claire Reeves. A. J. Austin, graduating magna cum laude. Molly Michelle Bray. Alexander Edward Brilliant. Graduating magna cum laude, the man who only needs one name, Chico. Cameron Danielle Dawson. Trevor Del Ponte. Coral Lee Frederick. Leanne Goldman. Taj Hall Harris. Benjamin Haynes Hicks. Lauren Alexandra Hutchinson. Oh, that's good. Roe Girls with a new media certificate. Mallory Honeycutt Pilcher. Morgan Elizabeth Pilcher. Ana Mariela Porras. Graduating magna cum laude, Shannon Kalina Smith. Daniel Webster Sullivan. With a new media certificate, graduating magna cum laude, Bennett Travers. Nicholas Winkleman. This concludes the candidates in the Mass Media Arts program. Give it the love, please, for all of Grady! Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, your Gene Charles Davis. Always.
Nobody does it better. How do you follow that? Thanks, Jim. Representing our more than 21,000 alumni on this special occasion is Eric Neesmith, our Alumni Society Chair and a 2002 graduate of Grady College. Eric, Vice President of Business Development for Community Newspapers Incorporated, recently received recognition as a member of Editor and Publishers 25 Under 35. showing more than ever that it's the younger generation leading newspapers and journalism, challenging conventional thinking, and making journalism as exciting a place to work as it is to learn. Eric?
Congratulations. You made it. And you were able to squeeze out that one more football season, too. Only the smart ones. There may have been moments along the way where this achievement seemed unattainable, but you've done it. And on behalf of our alumni, welcome to the Grady Society. I think that deserves at least another round of applause. And now that you're up here, up front, above all of those students that are in the Grady College, you're kind of like that South Georgia box turtle that once found himself sitting atop a fence post, looking out over the field and ground below. And like him, you have to remember, you didn't get there by yourself. So I think a round of applause goes for all those that are here gathered that have supported you throughout your trip through the Grady Journal, the Grady College as well. Along your journey, you've been guided and mentored by faculty that are tops in their fields. And like me, they've helped shape and prepare you for your future careers. They've pushed and they've prodded. They've pulled more out of you than you thought possible. They've primed you for your next challenge. And like me, you'll rely on the knowledge that you've learned here at the Grady College for the rest of your life. As members of the Grady Society, you're now plugged into a network of leaders, giants within their respective fields. Throughout our nation and world, you will not find many places that a Grady grad has not made a mark. We've even infiltrated the top tier of that Atlanta-based bottling company with the secret formula that we simply can't seem to live without. Boy, am I glad I shined my shoes today. Thank you, Scott, for the excellence you continue to set in your field, as well as your dedication to this college. Because of your hard work, you're now part of this network, and our roots run deep. Like the giant sequoias of the western redwood forest, our alumni have been able to reach their heights, mainly because the roots have been intertwined and linked with other giants within this Grady College. For nearly a century, this network has provided the support, the structure, and the framework that has helped our alumni shape our industry as we know it. As you embark on your next journey, remember to stay connected to this college. And as you, too, rise above all the others in your field, remember to give back to the college that has given so much to you. We've recently named the college's alumni fund the Georgia Fund for Grady, in honor of all the wonderful accomplishments Grady grads have done for this university. And as we approach our 100-year anniversary in 2015, we ask that you give. Yes, our college cannot operate at its current level of excellence without sustained funding. But giving does not always mean in dollars. Remembering to give your time and your talent back to Grady counts as well. As members of the Grady Society, we have a responsibility to support each other and this college. In doing so, we will continue to become and remain giants in our fields, and our college will continue its legacy for the next 100 years. Congratulations. You've earned it. We're all proud of you. Our alumni are here to support you, and we look forward to watching you grow.
At the conclusion of my remarks, please remain seated until after the recessional, and you'll be able to join your graduate right outside. Our students have indeed covered themselves and their college with honors. They have won prestigious national and regional competitions in advertising, journalism, public relations, and telecommunications. They have laughed, they have cried, they have stretched, they have stressed, they are ready. And if perchance in their infancy they did not bark before they talked, we have taught them that, at least in Grady. English is a second language. We've done our job. It is their turn. The world is a better place today because they are ready to join its work. Congratulations, graduates.